The history of cryptanalysis is defined by a single, unresolved anomaly. For over a century, elite military codebreakers and computational linguists have thrown every analytical framework at this text, yielding absolutely nothing. But where linguistics has stalled, material science has succeeded. Sitting in the vault of Yale University's Beinecke library is MS 408, colloquially known as the Voynich Manuscript. To understand what this object actually is, we have to stop trying to read it. The endless attempts to decipher its alphabet have produced little more than competing, unprovable theories. So we are abandoning the linguistic approach entirely. By treating the manuscript strictly as a physical artifact, we can rely on material forensics to provide an empirical, unfalsifiable blueprint of its origin. Chemical constraints and physical traces of human labor cannot be faked. They ground the text in hard data, establishing historical truth far more reliably than any speculative translation. That grounding process began in earnest in 2009, when a team led by physicist Greg Hodgins at the University of Arizona extracted 4mm samples of the parchment for testing. They subjected those samples to radiocarbon dating using accelerator mass spectrometry. By measuring the predictable decay of carbon-14 relative to stable carbon isotopes, the lab pinned the vellum's creation window between 1404 and 1438 CE. Subsequent multidisciplinary protein analysis narrowed the profile even further. The vellum is calfskin, specifically prepared using methods native to the Alpine and Central European regions. The codex itself consists of roughly 240 remaining pages, organized into 18 surviving sections called quires. The physical construction shows remarkable attention to detail, specifically in how the flesh sides and hair sides of the animal skin are deliberately aligned facing one another. Under magnification, you can clearly see light, dry-point ruling lines scored into the pages. These indentations provided a structural guide, allowing the scribe to write the rapid, left-to-right cursive text. Preparing high-quality calfskin vellum to this degree requires substantial economic capital and technical skill. This physical reality dismantles long-standing claims that the manuscript is a chaotic, amateur forgery. It was a highly organized, professional production. If the parchment establishes the economic baseline, the surface of the pages reveals the sequence of human labor. Analytical testing by Macron Associates verifies that the primary text was written using iron-gall ink. It is a standard medieval formulation containing iron, sulfur, calcium, potassium, and trace elements of copper and zinc. There are 0 modern synthetic materials present. More importantly, the ink exhibits a consistent, fluid ductus. The person holding the quill wrote with a steady, practiced hand, showing no signs of hesitation, correction, or blind copying. They were entirely fluent in whatever system they were encoding. But that professional execution abruptly stops when we examine the artwork. The illustrations are colored using organic and mineral pigments like azurite and copper resonate, and they are applied with startling crudeness. The paints repeatedly bleed outside the primary ink outlines. This indicates the coloring was executed after the fact by an individual who lacked the refined motor skills and rigorous training of the main scribe. This jarring disconnect between the masterful handwriting and the amateurish painting points to a multi-stage workflow. It fractures the romantic notion of a lone, isolated genius and places the manuscript within a segmented production pipeline. Beyond the chemical composition, the illustrations themselves offer another layer of structural evidence. The opening quires are dominated by a massive botanical section. Visually, the layout perfectly mirrors late medieval European reference herbals. You have a large, central plant with text wrapped around its stem. Yet, despite this familiar formatting, 95% of the plants do not match any known earthly species. Instead, they are composite creations. The illustrator has deliberately grafted the root structures of one biological family onto the leaves of another, resulting in an impossible taxonomy. This deliberate strangeness continues into the balneological or biological section. Here, dense blocks of text flow around small, nude female figures standing in vivid green pools and tubs. These bathing structures are connected by an elaborate network of pipes and conduits. Visually, this plumbing closely mirrors human internal anatomy, particularly intestinal and gynecological tracts, which strongly suggests the imagery outlines a therapeutic bathing regimen tied to medical astrology. The subject matter appears alien, but its presentation is not random. The creator organized this highly esoteric data using the strict, rational formatting and data visualization norms of 15th century science. Aggregating these data points constructs a rigid material profile, bovine calfskin, an 18-quire structure, and trace element iron-gall ink. Mapped out, the specific boundary anchors the codex's physical creation squarely in the Alpine region of Central Europe between 1404 and 1438. This is exactly why the material evidence is so critical. When you examine elements like this spectacular 6-page cosmological foldout with its 9 interconnected rosettes and stylized castles, the meaning is entirely opaque. We do not know what this maps. But we know exactly when and where the map was made. Any future historical attribution, computational model, or attempt at linguistic decryption must fit entirely within that established Alpine bounding box. The language of the Voynich Manuscript remains totally unread, but thanks to material forensics, the physical reality of the codex has been entirely decoded.